Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our preview series back here in the UK. Very happy to be here. Not that America's not great, it's just, it's nice to be here in your comfortable, familiar environment, putting back on a show with no technical challenges, all my equipment ready and raring to go as well. And I'm hoping that Arsenal are the same. I'm going to be certainly ready and raring to go for their massive game against Man City tomorrow evening at the Etihad. I'm joined by a couple of our members, potentially three as well soon. First of all, it's Zamir. How you doing, mate?
Hey, Tom. I'm doing all right. How are you?
Yes, not bad, mate. Not bad. Bit jet lagged, so my throat's a bit sore. So I think you boys might be carrying me in this show. But yeah, very good indeed. We're also joined by Saatvik. How you doing, mate?
I'm good.
Good stuff. How have things been? Oh, we lost him? No, he's there. Are you with us?
Yep, all good.
Cool. So I think there's a slight delay in
Just
the connection, which is why I'm now having to talk over you because I know this is going to be a slight delay. So we'll be aware of that fact going forwards. We hopefully will be joined by Ojo soon as well. Maybe not. We'll see. He's got form, as we know. Zamir, let's talk about what is, for me, besides the Champions League final in 2006, probably the biggest game of the past 19 years. Would you agree with that description?
Not really. I put one game above this one, which is the first FA Cup final that we won under Arsene Wenger. After that 8-year gap, I think that was probably one of the biggest games that we had. That was a defining moment, right? We had a trophy drought. We weren't competing, with the top two teams in England. We felt like we stagnated as a club, and then Ozil comes in, we win the FA Cup. It kind of turns the whole Wenger regime around, and I felt that was a very, very important game.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair argument. I think there's probably a lot of arguments for suggestions as to what could be a bigger potential game than this. Saatvik Arteta said in his pre-match press conference that he felt like, a cup final would be bigger because, the loser at the end of those games obviously goes home crying, and there's still arguably a way back. But do you feel as though that this is a must-win for Arsenal and therefore a bit of a cup final?
I think so, Tom, and simply for the fact I don't want to put, if I was in Mikel's shoes, I wouldn't put all the pressure on my players, but I just feel that if we win or get a result, there's a belief that continues to emulate through the team, regardless of who's on the pitch versus not. That belief could potentially springboard us to a string of results that could lead to us winning the Premiership. Now, if we end up losing this game, it's not from a talent perspective. It's more how much do we end up believing in ourselves that even if we win out, there still is something to play for. And from my perspective, it would deflate the belief in the team. And I don't know that we would recover from that, especially since we played Chelsea, a couple days later. It's not too far off.
No, it's not. So I think, where do you stand on this one?
Yeah, well, I think a cup final is still a little less important. The reason being, this is the Premier League. And the Premier League is a tournament which, apart if you consider the season where Leicester won when we finished second, apart from that, we haven't even come close to contending for the title. So the fact being that we've been at the top for this long, and potentially it's still in our hands if to win the title. So I think comparing it to a cup final is not really so accurate. I think this has higher stakes and potentially will, as Zamir said, push us to greater heights. So I think it's worth a bit more. So quite anxious for that.
Yeah, very anxious indeed. We're anxious to find out whether or not Ojo's audio is working. Is it working? Can we see you?
Can you hear me now? No.
Yes, we can. Lovely stuff. How are you feeling about this game, mate?
Calm. What is there to worry about? Obviously, my audio wasn't working, but I blame you for that. If you had just started on time, maybe my mic could have worked. But my feelings for the game, I think we should not be worried so far. Maybe we made it thus far. Nobody expected us to show up here. Normally, we are closer to this position only in August because we are alphabetically there. But This year it's been different. So I don't see, should we be worried? If any of the players are worried, then that basically shows that they don't belong in a position like this. You think Robertson was playing in the championship for Hull when he showed up to Liverpool and Liverpool was challenging? You think he was worried when he went into his first title challenge? And I also think it's upon Arteta to make sure that the players are not worried. That is why we brought in Jesus and Zinchenko and Jorginho to show them this is going to be a normal situation for you going forward. You can't be afraid. Block out the noise. Treat it as any other game. If you want to be the best of the best, then these are the kind of games you should have to go and play. Not just this week, but each and every week, actually.
Yeah, look, we need to make sure that every single time Arsenal step onto that field, that they're going into the game knowing who they're going up against, prepared for each fixture. And I felt as though that even though we've prepared for the last three teams, probably how we always have, it's felt, Zamir, like the mistakes have been what's cost us. You think about Ramsdale's pass, you think about Saka's penalty miss, you think about the situation that led to Liverpool's first goal at Anfield. And if you think back to the last time we played Man City in the league, that game was also dominated by individual errors. Do you feel as though it's an inevitability that that is going to happen again? Or do you feel as though these events should, in theory, be, you know, the biggest kind of reminder to the Arsenal players to keep their composure in this game?
I think the only inevitability I see in this game is Haaland is going to score because he's one away from the record, and that's all set up. Pep pulled him from the previous game. He's going to get his goal, but we just have to get past that. I think from an individual error standpoint, Man City are the best team right now in England, regardless of what Pep says. Even if we don't make them, Tom, they will force us into a few errors. It's as a collective, can we help each other out to limit those opportunities and limit those errors? And then can we not get punished by them? Because what seems like even if a team has one or two chances from our errors, they're 100% clinical. They end up scoring from it. And when we force other teams into errors, we don't end up scoring. And that's the difference between us and Man City. If you look at the game, we had the cup, the I think it's Carabao Cup game, and then the game at the Emirates this year, and the game at the Emirates at the beginning of last year. Between the boxes, we compete with them. We stifle them. We almost limit their dominance in the middle of the pitch. Where we get hurt, Tom, is our box and their box. We concede quite easily, and then we don't score when we have those clinical chances. So it's going to come down to, have we matured enough to limit and learn from our mistakes? And I believe we do. I do think we've performed better away from home. And I do feel confident that we have matured enough, have learned enough, and will, as a collective, get a result from this game.
Saatvik, what did the last three games teach us about what Arsenal are capable of? We know in terms of mistakes that we are vulnerable to those, but in a more positive sense, what have the last three games showed this team can do?
I mean, right off the bat, especially the last game, it showed that, we still have that in us, that we can come back from 2 goals down, whatever the time is. And I think that if there's something to be taken away from the Southampton game, I think it's that we can come from a situation like that and get the game back on level terms. And I think that'll really come in handy against a team like City, because as Zamir said, they've got the quality up front. On paper and off the bench, they're one of the best teams in Europe. We can see that with their performance in the Champions League this season, beaten one of the best teams. So they have got the quality, and as Amir said, we might go behind, possibly to a Haaland goal. But I think that in those situations is where we draw from the experience of being down at Southampton and countless other times this season where we've come back and turned the result around. So I think those are places where we can take experience from, and we grow stronger.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the performance that we started the games against Liverpool and against West Ham. Like, if you replicate that type of start to a game and you can eradicate the mistakes that we've made in those fixtures, you've got a great foundation of understanding of where to go. I think that against Liverpool, against West Ham, against Southampton, Arsenal arguably deserved to get, based upon what they produced, more if they were able to limit the mistakes. And unfortunately, against Liverpool, we couldn't limit the way in which we played in the second half, and the substitutions from Arteta, I think, certainly affected that. I think against West Ham, you could point to substitutions again, but I think we all know that the penalty changes everything. If Arsenal go 3-1 up, they probably go on to win at a canter. And against Southampton, we know that we came back, but had we had that 0-0 scoreline for more than just, a minute, we probably would have been going on again to win that game fairly comfortably too. So it's a lot of assumptions, a lot of extrapolating there. But I do think that, Arsenal across this season, Ojo, have demonstrated what they're capable of. And whilst I think we're all sitting here with our, hands clasped together, praying for something to go our way tomorrow, I think that Arsenal have shown this season that they are good enough to beat any team when they are on their best form.
Tom, even the past three results, right? The Liverpool, West Ham, and Southampton results, it is not something out of the blue. We have been playing somewhere similar to this throughout the season. If we go back and check the United away result, or when we went to Leeds, there was always been an element of, a silly mistake here or there. But over the course of the season, maybe this is why certain pundits consider us to be lucky, because we have not always been punished for our carelessness. And now maybe we are at the end of the season and there is a little more scrutiny. And if we had gone and dropped these points, maybe somewhere during the middle of the season, we would have still found ourselves at the same position and no one would have said anything about it. They're like, okay, Arsenal are still number one. The fact that we have come to this position and there is this myth about City being this machine or this beast that just devours everything, and we are this hapless, what is that, father of Nemo, Marlin, who's stuck in the middle of the ocean looking for his kid. Okay, so it is all narrative that has been built up, because we could have lost the same points. We drew to Southampton during when we played them away as well, right? But there was not so much scrutiny of our play. Ramsdale has been playing the same kind of passes. Partey has lost his head even other games throughout the season. Right? We've seen Tomiyasu make mistakes. We've seen Ben White make mistakes. We are not in this position by accident, and it's not like we're bottling it because now there is some new, virus of complacency or nerve in the team. It's just that we're playing the same way, only that now there's more scrutiny, and the players just need to relax and go back to what they were doing at the start of the season.
Yeah, some teams do need to go back to basics. Basics are the fundamentals of what makes you successful. Basic one being don't pass to the other team from your goalkeeper. That's a good basic to start with. Try and get your penalty on target is another good basic to go with. We know that there is a lot of talk, and I'm going to go to lineups next, about what we should do regarding the team. And I think we'll spend a little bit more time than we usually do on the lineups, because I know that there are different suggestions. However, I am going to spoil one fact of all of our lineups, and that is that everybody has still selected Rob Holding in their team. So I am very clued in to know our reasons behind that, and I'll come to each of you on that question. So when you're talking through your teams, guys, do sit on Rob Holding slightly and go into a little bit extra detail about why you picked him. I'm realizing I'm talking. I've not even shared the screen yet for the for the lineup. So let's get up on the screen. I think we're going with Zamir first. We are indeed. It should be up now. There we go. Zamir, talk us through your team. But as I said, give us some extra chat around why you still kept Holding in there.
Yeah, Tom, I know over this past week there's been a lot of chatter about drop Rob Holding, bring on Kivior, bring on Tierney, Zinchenko, go to a back three. To me, this lineup, minus Zinchenko in midfield and swap and Granit Xhaka, went up 2-0 at Liverpool at Anfield. So to me, this lineup, if we can go 2-0 up at Anfield and compete with them for 90 minutes and still end up with a result, this is still the lineup that will give us the best chance of beating Man City at the Etihad. Around Rob Holding, he has his limitations. And like Oja was referring to earlier, we actually just play the way that we have all season. The difference is we're being punished for those mistakes and we're not clinical enough at the other end. At Southampton, how many chances did we miss? If we put it in the last 5 minutes, one of those goals, the result changes, the entire perception of the team changes. We created so many chances, we scored 3 goals. So this whole Rob Holding doesn't allow us to score and we concede because of him notion is quite baffling to me. As to the rest of the lineup, Zinchenko for me has to play in midfield. I feel I went back and watched some of the old games very painfully against Man City, and where we keep losing is we don't have enough mobility and enough strength in midfield to track Gundogan, to track Bernardo Silva. Rodri wins all the duels in midfield. So to compete with that, for me, Zinchenko is a good enough technician to play in midfield, but also provide enough support to the back line if needed. And then the front three. This game for me, the star man I selected is Gabriel Martinelli. As I was looking back at some of the old games, I saw there was quite a few chances Martinelli had missed, and to me, if we're going to go to Man City and win, he has to bury those chances, and I think he will get those chances, and I think he will finish a couple of those. So for me, I think he's going to have an incredible game. I think this is the game where my hope is Saka and Martinelli show that we've gone from these youngsters that are immature that can't live up to the moment to this is our defining moment. We're going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and we're going to will our team to victory.
Fair enough. Really well summed up, especially on the holding point as well. Ojo, we've got you up next. Talk us through your team, mate.
I put Holding in basically because we don't actually have anyone else in that position who can play. And I understand people say, Partey used to play right back. But I don't think he remembers how he used to play right back in Atletico Madrid. It's been such a long time, and I'm actually more worried about Thomas Partey than Holding because from my understanding of his game, he's a kind of player who has to get into a rhythm early in the game, and once he sits in this rhythm throughout the game, he cruises like he's in Venice or he's in one of those gondolas and nothing faces him. But the moment this rhythm is shifted or someone puts him under pressure, his head completely goes, and he goes into like maybe a high school footballer. You remember that example where Arteta said that he was in Anfield, and for the first moment in his life that he felt that the game was just going around him and everything was just right and he didn't know what. But that is what happens to Partey whenever he loses his head, whether he's in Anfield or Brentford or any game. If his rhythm goes away, he's unable to get back the composure. So, but apart from that, this team is the team we have relied on. At least most of this team is what we have relied on to get us to this position. I don't think we can blame Rob Holding. But because he's a 2 million player, £2 million player, this is what you can expect from a £2 million player. But Rob Holding has to go there and play for his life because he's actually playing for his career. Because there is a very good chance Martinelli or Saka or Odegaard can go and win a Premier League with another team or win the league with another team. But for players like Rob Holding, this will probably be the last chance in their career. So if you're ever going to make something of yourself, remember the day you came on the FA Cup final and you basically bullied Diego Costa. Remember those days? Haaland is not Diego Costa. Haaland is, he's not going to bully you even. I think Diego Costa is a bigger bully on the pitch compared to Haaland. It's only that Haaland is more clinical. Diego Costa will come poke your eyes, try to pull your trunks down when you're not looking. But Haaland is not like that. So play your own game, and if we can control our emotions, if we don't let players like Zinchenko, let the occasion get to them, and let them play. You should be on the particular balance where Pep always keeps his team in a balance where they're at the edge of aggression, but they know that they have to also think of the bigger picture. So players like Jesus and Zinchenko can understand the occasion but not let it get to them. Then we can, I would say, comfortably win this game because we are not mugs. We are still top of the league. We are not the ones who's chasing. So we have shown that we have beaten every opposition at least once, except for maybe Southampton. But even City in their best seasons have not beaten Southampton. So that's actually a good sign. So we should be able to go to the Etihad, and if we are going to consider ourselves to be the best team in the league, we should be, you know, playing for the win. And one final point is I see that Arteta is kind of like Wenger. He wants not just to win; he wants to win in a fancy. It's like painting art. He wants to dominate the team, and it wants to be a complete domination. Maybe I hope that he's changed his mind and play a little bit more like Mourinho or even Eric Ten Hag. So managers like these, they understand that winning the game, the points are more important than how we play. Just go and get the points and come out. We can worry about beauty later. This is war. No, you don't take a paintbrush to the front line. Go get the points and get out. We'll worry about the aesthetics later.
No, I don't care. We get the 3 points if we get them tomorrow, as long as we get them. I love the point about Holding and the fact that he's not going to be able to get a title likely anywhere else, and that's extra motivation for him. Just quickly and very quickly, Rancid says Ojo Xhaka is a doubt. Who would you play instead of him if you had to pick someone else?
Well, if Xhaka cannot make it, actually I would nominate myself to come and play there, but unfortunately,
Terrible idea. Genuinely terrible idea.
You've not seen me play midfield, though.
I don't need to. I don't need to.
I'm actually ridiculously good. My father said engineering is more important. So,
if you had to pick someone from the available squad, who would you go for?
I would play Jorginho. Play Jorginho. Don't play 4-3-3. Play the conventional 4-2-3-1. I mean 4-2-3-1, and let Partey and Jorginho sit in the base of midfield. And but in that case, I would also play Tierney instead of Zinchenko. I already have control in the midfield. Let Tierney push their fullbacks or the wingers back and try to emulate what Ole used to do when he used to go to the Etihad. Because if you're going to find the best reference of winning at the Etihad, it is funnily the worst possible top six manager you can find. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has shown everyone the blueprint, but nobody wants to follow it because nobody respects it. So sit back and hit them on the counter. We have pace with Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus, so we should be able to do something there.
And Saatvik, you've gone with a slightly adjusted team, made a couple of changes that others haven't. Trossard coming in. I mean, I've got to pick your brains on dropping Martinelli because he's arguably our most informed player maybe at the moment. So why have you gone with Trossard?
Yep, Martinelli is our informed player and our top scorer as well in the Premier League. But yeah, I think Trossard, what he brings to the squad and what he has brought off the bench is phenomenal. And I think Pep Guardiola is one of those types of managers that even in the game that we did lose to them, the previous game that we lost, we played our game. I would say Man City didn't dominate enough of the ball as they usually do versus other oppositions. And even though we lost, we played our usual possession game that we play. And I don't think Pep would have liked that very much. So going into this game, I think he will definitely try to read into our tactics, see what we're good at, and try to counter that. So I think there'll be a very detailed plan for especially Martinelli and even the ex-City players because he knows them very well. So I think that's the other reason I haven't picked Zinchenko, because I think definitely there are with the fullbacks that and the wingers that Man City have got, I think they'll have Zinchenko's number, and Tierney will be definitely out of the box. Coming into the midfield, I think Partey, Xhaka, and Odegaard are the most experienced, and I think the midfield is going to be a very key area of the park because Man City, as you know, have a brilliant midfield. So I think that's where the game more or less will be decided. So we really got to stay strong there. So that's the other reason I haven't picked Zinchenko to go in the midfield, because three solid midfielders makes more sense to me. Coming to obviously the pressure point that is Rob Holding, I think Holding, people forget, is one of the most senior players that we have in the squad right now. He's been there one of the longest in the squad, and I think that says a lot. As Ojo also mentioned, he's played in cup finals, and he's really been there from the start. He's part of this old Arsenal DNA, and I think that'll definitely push him to do a much better performance And that's my reasoning over Rob Holding. And I think the rest of the team picks itself more or less. Yep. Trossard is obviously one of the main changes that I made. And I think coming off the bench, the impact he's had, we haven't actually given him proper start. So I think if we definitely start him, that's something they won't be prepared for. And in games like this, I think that's just what you need. Something which City are not prepared for can just make the difference.
Fair enough. We've all gone for, as I say, there's been kind of consistency in certain areas and then not in others. For me, I think that going with the same team that we used last week with Jorginho in for Vieira, if Xhaka isn't available, if Xhaka's available, of course, he comes in for me. And I agree with Ojo, the 4-2-3-1, I think is the way forwards regarding the formation. If you go with Jorginho and Partey, you go with the double pivot rather than the 4-3-3, just to give yourself that little bit more foundation. But yeah, I've been tweeting, I think yesterday I was, as I was kind of had like 4 or 5 hours to kill, and I was walking down the lakefront view in Chicago and having a few discussions with people online, not only about Rob Holding, but about Trossard and Jesus in particular, and whether or not Jesus should get dropped, because a lot of people felt that he's in line maybe to get dropped. Personally, I think he's mad. 4 goals in his last 4 games. He's in form. Yes, he's missed chances, sure. Although that said, I agree with Elliot on the Arsenal Vision podcast, who highlighted that, the chances that he had are actually maybe a lot trickier than people are giving him credit for. Jesus has to start. I think Trossard coming in is going to be really key as well in the second half, and he always is key when he comes off the bench. And the key part being Rob Holding, who I put as my 5-star man, not because I'm some amazing predictor of what's going to happen, just I'm willing a world-class performance into existence just by putting him there. And look, if he can pull off a performance as good as that smile, we're in for a treat of a performance tomorrow evening. So, yes, hopefully we can do the business. But that was, Ramsdale, White, Holding, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Partey, Jorginho, Odegaard, Saka, Gabriel Jesus, and Martinelli.
Really, Tom?
Right.
Yes, is a 5-star player. I've been trying to remain balanced and supportive of the team, but you just push me over the edge with this guy who's it looks like he's trying to sell milk for me. Why is Rob Holding the 5-star player? What is he going to do?
Because if he doesn't mess up and he has a decent game, he will stand out more than any other player. Because if he has a good game, that's better than anyone else's expectations of any other player in this team. If he's good, then that does more than what anyone could expect from anyone else. We expect the rest of this team to be pretty good, right? You expect
but what he was good in the last game.
Jesus to have a good game, Saka to have a good game. But the expectation, I think, of the majority of Arsenal fans is they are worried about Holding. And so if he has a good performance, I think he will overperform the expectation of everybody, hence why he's my 5-star player. Because as I said before...
what do we say is good, right? Because he was good against Southampton. We drew the game. He was good against West Ham. He didn't make any mistakes. Rob Holding has been good. The problem is Rob Holding.
I know. Well, it is Rob Holding in a way, but it's more so the problem is he's not William Saliba. That's the problem, is that he is not the player that allows Arsenal to play better out from the back. Holding himself is not the guy to, do what Ramsdale did. He's not the guy to... I look at the game against Spurs last season and the red card he got in that North London derby, and I look at Cedric next to him, and I look at El Neni ahead of him and go, when you've got a player like Cedric, leaving him so exposed that he had barely a choice to start taking people out. I have sympathy for that game, but he's going to have Partey, he's going to have White, he's going to have Gabriel around him. And if he makes individual errors, it's not because of the team around him, because he's got the players there. So there's nowhere to hide in that sense. But for me, Rob Holding can come in and do what he does, which is just to be a decent defender. And that's all we need him to be. And we need everyone else to step up with their passing game. And if he can just play the safe passes, then that's all I can ask of him, to be honest. And hopefully we see that. Predictions. What's up, Saatvik?
I think a 5-star performance from Holding Ojo would be when he did that last season, when he made a run from the halfway line, did a few nutmegs and keepy-uppies before blasting it into the crowd, That would be 5-star.
Hey, look,
Yeah.
if we keep a clean sheet and win at City and win the title, he can lift the trophy for all I care. I don't, we just need people pulling together and, ultimately we need to support the lads and hopefully you can absolutely smash it. So, Zamir, scoreline and scorers, please.
2-1 Arsenal. I'm gonna go with Martinelli, who opens up the scoring, and then Rob Holding, who finishes it off.
For us,
Ojo.
2-1
For us.
Okay.
Well,
I think I'm torn between the truth and what my heart says. Either way, the score is 3-1, but I don't know which way it'll go because I feel that there is one team that's going to get slapped tomorrow. I don't know whether it's us or Man City, because I don't think they have Ake. Right? They don't have Nathan Ake,
I think so.
and apart from Ake, their defense has not been that strong. It always feels like Ake is always bailing them out, even in attack or defense. So without him holding down Saka, Kyle Walker may be quick, but can he handle both Jesus and
I don't know if
Martinelli?
Walker will start, to be honest. He's not been starting their Premier League games.
And
They might
Akanji
use
is not.
that
Yeah,
Martinelli, but
Akanji is not as good as Kyle Walker. At least Kyle Walker will
Stones there,
come
isn't
back.
it? No.
So 3-1 is the score. I am an Arsenal fan, so I'd say Martinelli, Saka, and Ramsdale score, and maybe Ederson chips in for the City team.
Fair enough, mate. Saatvik.
Yeah, I'm going for a scoreline that we had in 2 of our past 3 games, and that is a 2-2 draw. I think Trossard and Jesus will get the goals for us. And I think, according to Zamir as well, Haaland will get his goal, and then maybe the second goal from Bernardo Silva because he's been playing really well. But I think, yeah, Leipzig and recently Bayern have caught Man City to a draw, and I think we'll be doing the same. 2-2 for me.
Fair enough. Junaid says here, would you take a draw if it was offered to you right now? I just need a yes or a no, a thumbs up or a head nod. But
Absolutely.
Ojo says no. Saatvik says yes. Zamir says no. I lean towards no, only because I feel as though if we'd have beaten Southampton, I would have said yes. I feel as though now, with the way that it is and the games that we've still got in particular, I think that we need to win. That said, if we come out with a draw, I still think I'm going to be pleased. So, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. I'm going to go for a... Oh, goodness gracious me. I'm going to go with a 3-2 Arsenal, which may put my blood pressure beyond its capabilities. Hopefully there's a hospital nearby. But because I'm going to be there. And I'll tell you what, I was fairly comfortable during the FA Cup game, but this is just a whole different kettle of fish. And very, very, very emotional, this game. And trying to stay composed in the press box, if it is dramatic, is going to be very difficult indeed. Although being surrounded by a lot of City fans, well, I know it's City, so maybe there will be like 4 or 5 people there. But I think I'm going to have to try and keep myself in check. I'm going to go for a 3-2. Rob Holding with the winner, obviously, with a screamer from outside the box. Martinelli and Jesus to get the goals, with all of them being assisted by Alexander Zinchenko. And City's goals will be scored by Erling Haaland because he's in my fantasy team.
But what is the confidence of Jesus scoring? I don't understand that. Do we really think Jesus is suddenly going to turn clinical in front of his old employers?
4-4, mate. 4-4. That's all I'm going to say. 4-4.
I think that's just what he needs. A taste of this previous team, and the challenge of playing against them is just what he needs. Maybe that's the catalyst.
I mean, this is the first time he's going to be playing against them, right? I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Zinchenko's had
the
2 goals.
opportunity, the stage, it's there. It's set up for him. This is what we got them for. It's, hey, you replaced me with Erling Haaland. Let me show you what you missed out on. It's a perfect game for Jesus.
The replacement has scored like 45 goals.
And if Jesus wins the Premier League, Haaland can score 100. We'll collect the trophy.
Very true. Rancid Pumpkin says 2-1 Arsenal. It says his heart with Saka and Nelly. Head says 3-0 City. James Ginger Gooner says 2-2, another draw, but one that will launch us to the title push and lift the mood substantially. Aman says 3-1 to Arsenal. Marcus says, I just can't see us winning there. Hope I'm wrong as always, but 3-1 City, Saka with our goal. Hugh says Arsenal win 3-2. Benji says, I'm torn between a 2-1 Arsenal and a 3-3. Either way, Martinelli and Trossard to score. Chris says, Heart 2-0 win. Head 5-1 Man City. Amira says 3-2, but I don't know to which team. All I know is I'm having a heart attack if we win after a 5-goal thriller. Absolutely. Matt says 2-1 with the Jesus brace. That would be fantastic. Old Dave's going for a 3-3. Saka, Jesus, and Trossard. Gooner works. Bill, pleasure to meet you and see you in Chicago. Says 2-2. Says his heads, but his heart says 10-0 to City. I mean, you know, I can't judge it because I don't mind a little bit of reverse psychology. So there you go. Neil says 1-0 to Arsenal, which is great positivity there. And to be fair, it's relatively positive, which is great to see, considering the opponent we're up against. But I absolutely get the trepidation. Zamir, thank you so much for your time, mate. As always, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks, Tom, for having me on. You can find me in the Discord. I don't use Twitter. I'm on Twitter, but I don't use Twitter. So find me in the Discord. Join as a member.
Indeed. Ojo, thank you for your time, mates. Thank you for showing up. Much appreciate it. It's you're 1 for 2 now, which is good. Tell people they can find you.
See, I missed one stream in all the existence.
Do you know how many other people have missed one stream? 0. You have the work, yeah, like your conversion rate. You know, if you want to talk about Jesus' clinical finishing, your clinical appearances, it needs to improve.
See, but if you go ahead and win the league, then it's probably worth it, right? Like Zamir said.
Hey, look, if you win the league, you can miss as many as you like, mate.
So people who are watching this, you can find me in the Discord. So do come and become a member and support Tom in his new venture. He used to be a teacher, but he abandoned the future of the nation to write about football. so that is there, but
I left it in very capable hands. There's very capable hands out there, you know, and I've got to do the work of the Arsenal, you know. Saatvik, thank you so much for your time, my friend. Tell people they can find you.
Yeah, pleasure to be on. Just in the Discord server. And I think Ojo forgot to mention we can even find him in the midfield.
That is true. We need to try this at least once. Maybe against Newcastle. Why can't I play when Xhaka is not available? If Granit Xhaka can play for Arsenal, why can't I?
We don't need a Rob Holding in midfield.
Yeah, I can't disagree. Thank you, everybody, joining us live in the chat box. And those that have listened on, catch up on audio and YouTube as well. Really appreciate that. If you've got any burning thoughts about anything we've discussed today, do leave them in the comment section on the YouTube show. As always, do drop a like and subscribe. It really helps us out. And I'll be back at the normal time of 8 a.m. UK tomorrow morning ahead of a trip up to Manchester. And then, of course, we'll have another 8 a.m. show from a hotel room before I head back from Manchester on Thursday, hopefully discussing a very, 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 very important victory for the Gunners. We'll see you again soon. Leave your predictions and thoughts down below. And as always, up the Arsenal.